What up, guys, and welcome to the web's first must-see comic and geek culture show. Welcome to the comic universe. I'm Dr. J. I've got a PhD in Earth culture, and I should know. I printed it out myself. Alright, so that show was crazy. I think it's time we partake in a little review therapy, get our thoughts and feels out there. And in case you don't know, if you couldn't tell by the title and thumbnail, we will be discussing Legion Season 2, Episode 1, Chapter 9. So, if you do yourself a favor, if you haven't seen the episode yet, I will be recapping the events of the episode and discussing how I feel about it. So, if you haven't seen the episode, watch the episode first, then come back here and tell me your thoughts and feels in the comments down below, and I'll give you a proper diagnosis. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's just jump right into it. Wow. This show, man, this show is probably one of the hardest to possibly review because it's so trippy and it's just a bunch of visual stimuli just thrown at you all at once. I actually reviewed Legion Season 1 on my main channel, and I'll leave it linked over in the end card at the end of this video if you want to check those out. But it was really hard to review because you couldn't really tell what was going on, and a lot of it was a puzzle trying to figure out like what was real and what was not, and if you could trust David or not. And part of that is what we get here, but I will say this, from this first episode, I can tell already that this is going to be even better than Legion Season 1, which I actually really enjoyed. So, first off, where do we pick up in Season 2, Episode 1? Well, pretty much right from where we left off. We see that David got beamed into this, like, sphere, this alien circular sphere, and he's gone. But then the next thing we see is him being discovered by Division 3, and we see Carrie, you know, the mutants from Legion Season 1 who is able to split into, you know, a male self and a female self. The female self is much more aggressive and like combat oriented, whereas the male persona is more scientific and analytically minded. So Carrie finds Legion, and it turns out that David slash Legion's whole crew from Summerland in Legion Season 1 is actually now working for Division 3. So we get a bit of world building here, and we find out that after the attacks that the Shadow King kind of laid on both mutant kind and humanity, the crew over at Summerland decided to talk things out, and they've agreed to work for the government, for Division 3, as kind of the tip of the spear, to basically fight the real mutant threats. And their public enemy number one is, of course, Ahmad Farouk, aka the Shadow King. And it's really cool because this kind of gives me like an X Factor vibe, because it's like a government sanctioned team of mutants working to fight mutant-centric threats, and it's pretty cool. So basically, when we pick up with David, we find out that David's been gone a year. So this show has kind of embraced real time, and David's been gone a year. He has no memories at all whatsoever. And they're obviously very suspicious because last time David had a blackout was when he was under the control of the Shadow King. So they're not sure entirely if David is David, or if David is being possessed by the Shadow King. And we also find out that the Shadow King has been, you know, perpetrating several attacks on just regular humans, and what he does is he hits them with this psychic blast, and it freezes them in place, and literally the only thing that moves is their teeth. So you just hear this chattering teeth noise, and it's creepy. Oh my god, it gave me chills, man. And so they're trying to figure out a way to reverse this, and they think the only way they can reverse this, of course, is by destroying the Shadow King. So, unlike Season 1, which, although it was interesting, and it was interesting to see David's character and his instability that's caused by his powers, Season 2 actually has a legitimate point A to point B goal. Their goal is to find the Shadow King, not only find the Shadow King, who is currently still in Oliver's body from Season 1, the one lady's husband who was in charge of Summerland. So he's still in Oliver's body. They're trying to find the Shadow King, but they're also trying to find the Shadow King's original physical body that Charles Xavier knocked out of commission, and is somewhere. It's hidden somewhere. Now they don't ever directly say Charles Xavier, but Legion does say, after he was defeated by my father. And we saw in episode, I believe it was episode 7, when David explored his repressed memories, that he does have memories of Charles Xavier. I mean, there's only one bald telepath in a wheelchair in the Marvel Universe, am I right? So that's pretty interesting. And then we also find out that David was actually with the Shadow King in this nightclub, and that's actually where they found David in the first place. So, which is why they're super suspicious of is he being possessed by the Shadow King, because the Shadow King's current vessel was with David when they found him. But of course, he disappeared and got away because he was able to distract them by freezing the entire nightclub in that weird psychic trance. And also there was this odd dance battle sequence. I don't even know what was going on there. So yeah, they're basically trying to figure out what's going on with David, and they're trying to use David as a means to find the Shadow King and his physical body. And they do this by putting him in this cerebral, I want to call it a cerebro tank, because it's basically like a sensory deprivation tank that amplifies his psychic powers. So it's pretty cool. And this is where he unlocks part of his memories, and it seems like part of his subconscious is telling him that he needs to help Farouk find his body. Now, I don't know if that means he is really being possessed by the Shadow King. It's really hard to tell with David who's in control and who isn't. But I think what it means is that David's subconscious is telling him to help Farouk find his body, so that David himself can destroy it and end things once and for all. Who knows? But that's just my theory. This episode just is super visually stunning. From the title card onward, just everything is just so cool. Everything is shot really, really well. You can tell Noah Hawley really brought his A game. And if you're a fan of Fargo, you'll definitely enjoy the crazy shot composition of Legion. Overall, again, this was quite a ride, but that's to be expected with a show like Legion. Honestly, that's as far as I can get in terms of reviewing it, because that's all I really understood. If you guys, have any more theories, thoughts about this episode, definitely leave them in the comments. What do you think the Shadow King is up to? What do you think his goal is by freezing all these people in this trance? What do you think his plans for David are? Where do you think his body is? Do you think Xavier is going to be involved in this season? Let me know all your thoughts and feels in the comments down below, as always. And like I always say, once a comic book geek, always a comic book geek. And once an X-Men fan, always an X-Men fan. Until next time, guys, this has been Jay from Mr.J'S Reviews. And until next time, I'll catch you later in the universe. Peace.